And of course, we are on X Spaces, we are on YouTube, Facebook, and of course on myjoyonline.com. Now, this afternoon, we are heavy on illegal mining because government has revoked all small-scale mining licensing issued after the December 7th general election, citing procedural irregularities. This decision follows recommendations from an 18-member committee set up by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Environment, Science and Technology, and Innovation to reform and sensitize the mining sector. Speaking at a joint media briefing this morning, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofiwa, revealed that a review uncovered irregularities in the issuance of small-scale mining licenses after the specified date. Now, as part of the reforms, a small-scale mining technical committee has been established to assess all existing licenses, ensuring compliance with due process.
There is established a working committee to review the current licensing regime and propose recommendations and a comprehensive strategy to tackle the issues of illegal mining. Well, I've talked about that. That's the report that I've talked about. Now, we are going full steam ahead to revoke all licenses based on the finding. All licenses, small-scale licenses that were issued from December 7th is hereby revoked. Whether you have EPA license, because the finding is very clear. Those licenses from December 7th were rushed. The due processes were not followed. Right things were not done. People will have the opportunity to appeal to make sure the right things are done. But our whole focus is to make sure that the right things are done. Secondly, the existing community mining schemes are in name only, as I've said, although the basis for which they were funded were to benefit the community. However, the findings indicate that this is not the case. They have not been. They are to be disbanded and replaced with small-scale mining cooperatives that actually serve and benefit the community. These cooperatives will be formed after due diligence with the communities involved.
Right, so let's understand what the issues are. The question about the licenses revoked, according to the minister, any mining license that was issued after the December 7th election stands to be revoked. Isaac Kofi Ajaminta is from our research desk and he joins me in the. So Kofi, we've been doing some story around mining license issue here and there. Now the specific reference is after the December 7th election. Do we have figures to back this?
Yes, of course. If there's any place that the research desk actually sleeps, is the Minerals Commission's mining data repository. We've been trying to understand the number of licenses issued right after December 7th. I think somewhere around January when we did the querying and we actually were doing the analysis and cleaning of the data, we realized that some 102 mining-related licenses actually commenced operation after December 7th. And we saw an update in the system somewhere in February, and we decided to check that as well. And what we realized was that that number, 102 mining-related lines commencing, has actually increased from 102 to now more than 300 of them. But I mean, I don't know if the minister speaks about small scale, but most of these licenses actually issued were for mining-related, activities. Some of them were for prospecting, some of them small-scale mining, some of them also large-scale mining. And so it will be interesting to see how the government will actually, filter the small-scale mining. Or I don't understand if it's all mining licenses or it's just a small-scale mining.
Yeah, I think the word is
on it,
small-scale mining. Yes,
but most of the small-scale mining licenses were actually issued from the first week of January. And in fact, even in December, there were a number of licenses that were actually issued to small-scale mining, some for prospecting and some also for mining. But most of them, about 300 of them, actually commenced operation in terms of the type of licenses that were actually issued. Not all of them went into actual mining, but some of them was actually for prospecting and for other mining-related, activities out there.
But are there specific figures in terms of mining license, perhaps maybe during the Akufo-Addo administration, that we can talk about? The minister even referenced the fact that some persons have been given multiple licenses, sometimes 30 different mining licenses, and they are not even using it, and it is difficult to track them. The reason why they want to review this.
That's true. In fact, if you go into the repository, what you realize is that some of the names actually have been duplicated and all of that. But what we know is that since this Fourth Republic, the total number of mining licenses actually, issued is around 200 and maybe 2,000.
2,000 mining licenses.
2,190 something mining licenses. But if you do the math, and you look at the number of licenses that actually started operation under the Akufo-Addo administration, that's more than 90% of this over 2,000 mining-related licenses that we're actually talking about. So if you ask me about the actual figure, that's more than 90% of the over 2,000 mining-related licenses that actually started in the Fourth Republic. That figure is huge, and it's actually the biggest component if you decide to look at it from the Rawlings era to the Akufo-Addo era. The total number of lines that actually started operation during his tenure was just about 90% of the total number that we've seen since the 40s.
So clearly, there are more small-scale mining licenses than for the international mining companies, if you like.
There are. I mean, a number of them for different purposes. Some of them are for prospecting. Some of them also for actual mining. We are still going into the data, trying to understand, the dynamics in terms of the type of mining licenses that actually commenced operation, or the type of mining license that actually, was given out, for us to possibly understand the broader picture in terms of the mining sector, because we already know that the government is really counting heavily on the mining sector. In the second term of President Mahama, we know of the gold board that has been initiated, or that the board is now, they actually enjoy close about more than $200 million in terms of allocation, right, in the 2025 budget to start operation as a revolving fund. You definitely would want to rely on the small-scale miners, but they were very categorical about the gold mining program and the type of gold they want to buy, and that if you are not licensed, if you cannot track your gold from the right source, you definitely will not fall in this category. And also, there are also other aspects where the mining industry has also been slapped with some 3% tax, and that conversation is already there. And so, but it is actually interesting to see the government going into some of these activities to actually try and understand some of the problems we have in terms of the irregularities and the illegal mining going on in the country. Just like you put it, that if you actually go into the data set, you see a number of duplications and all of that. So it'll be interesting to see how the audit, maybe by the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, the revelation that it will be. But the most important thing is that the minister has taken a decision to actually withdraw all possibly small-scale mining lines that were actually issued after December 7th. Right,
Kofi Olivia, thank you so much for coming through. And of course, Kofi Minta is from our research desk. And still on this matter, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, has also been briefing Parliament on steps being taken by government to deal with the issue of illegal mining. According to him, illegal miners had hijacked some forest reserves, and they've managed to, retrieve some of them. Let's go to Parliament and listen to him.
I was alarmed at the levels of devastation of our forest reserves. That prompted me to make a statement on this floor of Parliament on the state of our forest reserves and water bodies, and a call on the people of Ghana, including the members of Parliament, to join in this fight to reclaim our forest reserves. At the time, I had stated that 9 of these forest reserves, where armed thugs had taken over and are considered to be no-go areas, included Jimera, Njibira Extension, Biziri, Afao Hills, Tano Ahia, Ofin Shelter Belt, Ahunwasu East, Ahunwasu South, Subri River, Asenanyo River. Mr. Speaker, I am very happy to announce that with the support of the military working closely with the Forestry Commission, we have been able to flush out the tax from 7 out of the 9 forest reserves. We are on course to reclaim the last 2 as well as we speak. This notwithstanding, surveillance is being kept at all these 7 reclaimed forest reserves to ensure that they are not re-invaded. Mr. Speaker, currently, through collaboration with the military over the last 3 weeks, we have, as I stated earlier in my other question, seized a lot of equipment, and I won't be repetitious here. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the above, my ministry is working closely with the Forestry Commission to source for support to procure key logistics, such as 4x4 vehicles, motorbikes, to improve mobility of officers.
Again, the Lands Minister has also reviewed the seizure of champagne, excavators, and guns from illegal miners.
Seizures so far made include 25 champagne equipment, 56 excavators, 2 payloaders, 3 bulldozers, 3 pickup trucks, 7 pumping machines, 4 pump action rifles, among others. In addition, a total of 18 persons have so far been arrested and handed over to the police for prosecution. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has also undertaken engagement with key stakeholders, including members of parliament, chiefs and traditional authorities, civil society, key voices, to seek their views and support in tackling this menace. As part of His Excellency President Mahamad's 120-day social contract with the people of Ghana, my ministry has worked closely with the Attorney General and the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology to amend LI 2462 to ban further mining in forest reserve. So the whole mining scheme is going to change. We have also laid out a technical review, licensing review committee that is going to review all small-scale mining licenses that has been issued. We've also effective this morning, based on the report we have, revoked all licenses that were issued December 7th. Because it is very, very clear that those licenses did not follow due process.
All right, so this is latest coming from the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Let's subject it to some scrutiny. And Awola Sewa is coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens, and she joins me via Zoom. Awola, good afternoon. Welcome to the poll. So the Minister has announced a few things today. First is the revocation of all small-scale mining licenses issued after the December 7th general elections. Is this something that you welcome?
I mean, we welcome it with cautious optimism. It's a step in the right direction. But of course, there are many more thousands of small-scale licenses, and we don't know what monitoring is actually going on. So the issue is the monitoring, and it's because we can't monitor, and there are thousands of them. That was why we said a pause on community mining. So it's a step in the right direction, but it hasn't completely solved the problem because we still have thousands of licenses that were issued before December 7th, which need to be scrutinized. And the most important thing is the monitoring to ensure that the proper, that the mining is being done responsibly, because whether or not you have a license, the issue is whether or not you're mining responsibly.
But we also heard the minister say that they are also reviewing all small-scale mining licenses issued. So that answers your concern.
You can review, yes. So you have, when you're reviewing it, you have to go to where they are mining. Do they have all systems in place? For example, when you are mining, you need to have the tailings, which store the water so that you can wash the gold in the water and not wash it into the source of drinking water of the community. Who is monitoring? Who is ensuring that the proper thing is being done? So what we are saying is that it's not just that you've gone through the due process and what exactly are you reviewing? It's more to ensure that those who are operating in a responsible manner. That is the issue.
On the ground, what do you see as far as activities of small-scale miners are concerned?
Well, those on the ground are pretty upset at what is going on. The images speak for themselves. And there is no indication that we are coming to the end of this saga. This problem, as you know, has been going on for a very, very, very long time. But there were some systems that we asked to be put in place, which haven't yet done. And let me say this at this stage, that we asked in clear terms for the revocation of LI 2462, which allowed for mining in forest reserves.
We'll come to that.
No, please. Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough.
So I first wanted to deal with this small-scale mining issue. So the issue is about those they can identify and trace. I know there are thousands that have no regulation, but they are working. So the minister's first port of call is that let's first deal with licenses that were issued after the general elections because they didn't go through the right process.
Yeah, so that's the strategy, dealing with those that were issued after December 7th. Fair enough. That's why I said it's a step in the right direction. But I did say that we are greeting it with cautious optimism, because it's a step in the right direction, but there are so many thousands of licenses that were issued pre-December 7th. And many in the community say that, as far as they are concerned, some of the activities of the small-scale miners, community miners, are the same as the illegal miners.
Right.
They don't really see a difference. So that is one of the concerns that the communities have.
But what should government do then in terms of going after those who may not have the license, and for that reason, tracing them becomes very difficult? Those are the ones, even though we may assume that some small-scale miners are also causing damage to the environment, but those without any regulations are the ones who for want of a better word, are causing the most danger. And those people is difficult to identify.
Danger is being caused by anyone who is mining irresponsibly. Just liken it to a driving license. I have a driving license, which means that I've gone through the regulations. I know the right thing to do. But if nobody is enforcing, I drive whilst drunk, I drive on the pavement, I ignore the highway code, it's of no use that I have a driving license. So in the same way, we are saying that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of licenses that have been issued before December 7th. Nobody is monitoring adequately. So we don't know how, whether or not they're adhering to the rules and regulation. According to so many in the community, they are not. So a lot of course, they are the good ones, but a lot of them are operating without any regulation. So that was why what was asked for was a pause in all community mining, so that you go through the system and you find out who is doing the right thing, who isn't doing the right thing. Because whilst we have rightly revoked the licenses of those which are hurriedly issued after December 7th, those that were issued before could be, as we speak, poisoning our water bodies.
And the minister again announced today that they've managed to secure 7 out of the 9 forest reserves now in control of government. It is patting itself on the back. They also seized champagne, guns, and other things that's being used by illegal miners. Does this suggest that the fight against illegal mining is taking a good shape based on what the minister told Parliament today?
Well, it suggests that we are winning some battles, but not necessarily the war. And what I would say is that we heard some of these stories during the previous administration, that they had reclaimed some forest reserves. And later on, it was found out that was not actually the case. So the way it says, yes, they may have, we have to verify the information. We treat it with caution. We welcome it, but we treat it with caution. We welcome it. So it is possible that 7 have been reclaimed, but we don't know if they are hiding somewhere and they are going to come back. How long is anybody going to stay there to ensure that they don't come back? What systems have been put in place to ensure that it's sustainable? So yes, we want to be gracious and say that some good work is being done, but we also need to be conscious of the fact that these pronouncements have been made before, and the result has been that the environmental terrorists came back. So what steps have been put in place to ensure that this doesn't happen this time around?
Now, let's shift to one concern that you have, and indeed is a concern for those who are against illegal mining in all its forms. Yesterday, we were expecting the laying of this instrument to, to do some amendment to the Environmental Protection Law, LI 2462. Now, the first deputy speaker is allowing a 3-day window so that there could be some kind of discussion around what government intentions are. And then on Thursday, the expectation is that the instrument will be laid, will travel the 21 days maturation period, and if there is no opposition against it, it will become a law. Now, we've been told by the majority leader, Mahama Yariga, that they are only amending just a clause, the clause that gives rights for people to invade our forest reserve and mine in there. Is that the only thing you've been fighting, or the totality of the entire law?
We find what is going on completely disingenuous, because when the president was in opposition, he said that when they came to power, they'll repeal, the word was repeal, they would repeal LI 2462. What they were trying to do yesterday was, as he said, to amend. And we have said the whole law is not fit for purpose. It's not just Section 3.1, which allows the president to give approval to mine in globally significant biodiversity area. There's so many aspects of it that are inconsistent. So we have said repeal the whole law. So to say you are going to do it, and then when you come, you are rather trying to just amend, I think that that is worrying. And if you do something like that, then credibility becomes an issue. So we have asked for the complete revocation, not amendment, revocation of LI 2462.
Because I think that in this whole discussion, the matter that come up strongly for attention is the grant of access to forest reserve to mine in there. Apart from that particular clause, what other clause in the regulation that you strongly feel that must also be tackled?
If my information is correct, what was being amended was not the mining in forest reserves, but the authority of the president to allow mining in globally significant biodiversity areas.
Right.
So it's not mining in forest reserve. Let's get that completely clear. You can still mine in forest reserve, but the president cannot just, by a written whatever approval, allow mining in globally significant biodiversity area. What we wanted was that there should be no mining in forest reserves. And also, LI 2462, we have said, is perverse because the previous laws, there was at least a 2% a protection that you could only mine in 2% of the forest reserve.
Right.
Now that protection has been removed. And the experts like Darrell Dusu and others will tell you that the whole law is just not fit for purpose. So what we asked you to do, which you said you were going to do, was to revoke the whole law, and then you can sit down and see if there's a need to do so, to bring an amendment to the law, which really should be sponsored by the Forestry Commission.
Right.
Because it's the Forestry Commission which is tasked with protecting our forest reserves.
The window of opportunity will close tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. The Speaker expects that the instrument will be laid. I'm wondering whether between today and tomorrow, is there any plan from persons like you and other groups that are seriously against illegal mining to make a representation to Parliament as they do the pre-laying, discussions?
Well, even if we don't do that, the president himself, you see, we have to be credible. The president himself said he was going to revoke it. So if this is not done, we will continue our campaigns. We actually have a case in court, which is asking for the revocation of LI 2462. So we will continue campaigning and campaigning and campaigning until LI 2462 and EI 144, which declassifies parts of Achimota Forest, are revoked. So whatever happens with this law, we are going to continue. We are resolute and will continue until the law is revoked, not amended. And we are just disappointed that there seems to be an attempt to be a little disingenuous by doing one thing when we promise to do something else.
All right, we'll leave it here and wait to see what government real intention is tomorrow when the laying is done, and then we'll get to understand the content of the instrument. But away from that, or still staying on this related matter, is the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners in the Ashanti region threatening a standoff with a group claiming to be an anti-Galamsey task force, extorting money from miners. Some members say they have paid huge sums of money to the group frequenting their sites, though some arrests have been made by the Office of the Regional Security Coordinator. The miners say other groups continue to resist. Nanaya Ojima has more in this report.
The Anti-Galamsey Task Force of the Ashanti Regional Security Council recently commenced operations turning attention to forests, water bodies and major roads. But information gathered indicates the presence of another task force targeting registered small-scale miners and threatening to seize their equipment. On 2 occasions, the miners claim their concessions in the Amansia West district were invaded by the fake security operatives. Small-scale miner Kwaku Abone explains the cover of the group was later blown, but they escaped arrest.
People come dressed like security operatives and go to mining sites, taking parts of excavators and demand for money. We called to inquire whether the operation was sanctioned, and the regional security coordinator denied knowledge of it. We were asked to arrest them. The people started shooting into our vehicles, injuring one person. That's how they escaped.
Some miners have lost up to 200,000 cedis to the group over threats to seize their excavators. PRO for Nassam, Edujemfi, says they may resort to violence to protect their property.
If you get the message from some of our members from other zones, the next time such incident happens, they will not allow themselves to be taken over. And there could be a possible clash that could create fatalities. We are welcoming any operation by the government. We are not saying that the government shouldn't go about on operations. We welcome that, but what we want is that it must be well organized, it must be well informed, and it must be officially done by the government.
Meanwhile, the Office of the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator has reviewed steps to deal with the imposters. Captain Retired John Jabari explains some arrests have already been effected and prosecution underway.
With the assistance of the police, almost all the groups that went out, or people who were parading like that, we were able to affect the arrest, so we are able to do that. We are collaborating with the police in this aspect because we are not presently in all the districts at the same time, so most of them will fall on their roadblocks or barriers to assist us in this effort. So, but we have given small-scale miners our hotlines or operational numbers so that they could quickly alert us. If it is us, we'll let them know. If it is not us, we'll tell them who, or we'll let those people get arrested. So it's not a problem. We are trying to handle it over there.
Mr. Jabari wants miners to exercise restraint and support the security operatives in arrest of the culprits.